Welcome guys to Real and Reveal, where we are not gatekeepers. Years of experience in photography and videography, and giving it all away for free. Whatever you do with the information, that's up to you. But for us, that's one way of us just giving back to the community and out of what we have learned. And remember, subscribe so that you can be able to know when we are posting. And so far so good. We've come a long way. Hey, mambo,
It's been long, brother.
hey, it's been what? Tumefanya events, huh? And
I think 2 weeks, yeah?
2 weeks.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we've done quite some events. We normally shoot with my guy here, Moses. He's the guy behind the filming. I'm the guy behind the cameras. And so far we've talked about documentaries. What are documentaries? How different are they? We've talked about planning. And if you've not watched those and you're trying to come up to speed, just check on our links and get to come up to speed. And today we want to talk about now. You've planned everything.
Yeah.
Tell us about now. You are with the interviewee. So what are those things that we need to consider?
When you've already set your camera, first of all, make sure the camera is on a tripod stand and it is balanced. When the lever is checked, it is well balanced so that the subject is not tilting on either ends. And then number two, make sure that as soon as you have switched on the camera, because you understand the camera you're working with, make sure in terms of the ISO, the shutter speed, the temperatures are all set properly, so that before you begin filming that particular subject, don't find the image later looks like it's cold, too blue, or it's warm, it's too orange, because it did not set some few things here and there properly. So it's good that you set properly.
You've talked about the ISO, the shutter speed, your aperture, your color temperature, and that has taken me back.
Okay.
When I was a small boy. And I know guys are trying to calculate my age, but I grew up where Sunday was the day you're being taken photos. And mom, thanks mom, kudos, you Vaseline, family mzima, pangeni
And then you remember that guy on motorbike, on
bicycle.
a piki, yeah, bicycle, coming, and they say, "Are you ready, guys?" Yeah.
And he has like, I think 100 families to shoot.
Imagine.
Nasa hiyo mmeka smile. Sema chapo. Only to be told a few weeks later,
That's it. So that's analog. Now we are digital.
Now we are digital.
So those things now have to be considered. Because
Exactly.
now we are working with the DSLR cameras, you know.
Mirrorless cameras.
Mirrorless, yeah, the camcorders.
Exactly.
So I know, because we have a long way to go, we'll have one of the long discussions about those particular settings. But purely you have set your camera now. You also need now to make sure that your subject is well positioned. Like you see in this particular podcast, there is a way you have been framed.
Yes.
A good medium shot, a tight medium shot, and your position on a particular side of the camera. So you need to make sure that the subject is well positioned. Ensure that the headroom, which is the space above the head, is not too close to the frame of the camera, is just in a good level. Ensure they have a good lead room. Like where they are facing, there is some space in front of them. But if they are looking directly on the camera, then you can put them at the dead center. But then if they are facing like the interviewee, you put them somewhere on a side. It is known as the rule of thirds.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I know in photography you also do the same.
Definitely. Because photography and video the science is already done.
Yes.
The camera is there. It's now the art part of it. And the rule of thirds, it's very, very key. And we'll talk about that in another episode, where now we go into the nitty-gritties and all the details. And you've talked about the framing.
Yes.
What else can we talk about as you now trying to shoot now?
The other thing is the eye level, because the subject is facing like either the camera directly or the person doing the interview. So the eye level is using the tripod, you can make sure that the lens is facing the subject directly. So if the person is sitting down, you bring down the tripod, make sure they are on the same level. If the person is standing, you bring the tripod up. Otherwise, if you do a low level kind of a shot or a high level, it communicates something different, especially in a cinematography. But in documentaries, eye level is a safe position to place your camera.
Fantastic. So we said about positioning, we said about framing.
Yes.
We've talked about the different aspects of the cameras, the ISO, the 3 components. We've talked about the white balance. But in this time and age, where we have data protection, and how do you go about that?
Talking about data protection, just take you a bit behind. Before you even begin conducting the interview, because now the subject is on set, they need to sign a consent form before they give any information. Because if they don't sign, everything else recorded after that, if they say, I don't want to appear on that documentary, it will be a waste of time and space, and so they need to sign a consent form, because this is a sheet that is prepared by an organization or the person who is conducting the documentary to show that I, as a subject, I have approved that you use my image in your either social media platforms or wherever you want to post this for this specific purpose. If it will be commercial, I'm okay. But there are situations whereby you'll film somebody and then go and use their footage only to end up having legal tussles because they never signed a consent form. So make sure that form is signed, and they don't sign it forcefully. Is out of their own volition. They need to understand, what am I signing?
Exactly.
So if somebody doesn't understand the English that you have written, they are big words, yeah? You need to translate, my friend. Yeah? They'll ask you, ninauza shamba, nikisaini hapa.
Naweka kidole.
Naweka kidole, nauza shamba. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
So a consent form suffices to protect you against the issue of data protection and all that.
Very true. And guys, I'll tell you this, and I'll tell it for free. Either you're doing documentary, that is filming, or you're doing photography, ensure that if you're going to use those photos on social media, either your website, anywhere, make sure a consent form. Word of mouth is not consent. It has to be written, signed. Kama ataweka kidole ama atatia sahihi, that is important. The other day,
Yes.
I saw a story somewhere where someone was being sued. I will not say who.
Okay.
And they had done a big event. It was not a documentary, it was an event. Video quality was good, but where? Audio.
Well, okay.
Audio. Zero.
It was pathetic.
If pathetic is here, it was here.
And last time, Pablo, you talked about in preparation, the issue of audio.
Exactly.
That you need to carry either the portable microphones or maybe the wireless. Because you see, in the camera, it has got an inbuilt microphone known as the all collector microphone. So it picks every noise around. And that is what I think you experienced.
Exactly.
Very irritating. Good visual, but bad audio.
Very bad audio. Very
bad audio. So I think in the line of documentary production, you need to make sure that the guys who are doing the interviews, they have the audio recording devices on, either wearing, like if it's a wireless, or maybe if it's a group, you can use a boom mic, whereby it's positioned somewhere out of the frame of the cameras.
What?
It's known as a boom.
Boom.
A boom. And it's kind of like a big microphone. It has got like a cover to make sure there is no wind coming in as a shield. But it's preferred mostly in the film industry, and when you're recording like a group. Because if you don't do that, you will end up with a very, very bad audio. So it's good that you consider. And these days, these gadgets are not expensive.
Exactly.
You can buy one or higher. Yeah. So don't spoil good visuals by recording bad audio.
Very bad audio.
Yeah,
I don't know how that
very
case
irritating.
Has gone. I don't know how that case has gone, but that is not looking good.
So how did the client react to that?
They were like, the video is good, but the audio, hiyo nayo imekataa. And the other guy was like, no, I was not in control. But at the end of the day, you are the expert.
Exactly.
It's not the client.
Yeah.
And what the client wants is good visuals, good audio. I can sit and listen. But now I can't listen because the audio is bad. It's beyond pathetic. And I hope for the best for that guy. I hope he'll be able
It's
to.
very
I don't know how he's going to
unfortunate.
do it.
That's very unfortunate.
But yeah, it's. But let me ask you.
Yeah.
You're the expert in the industry. When you're doing, let's say, for example, interviews,
Yeah.
you're doing an interview of, for example, we were in Cheptais,
Yes.
and we were interviewing the farmer.
Yes.
Is it just showing just this person talking?
Yes.
Do we have to spice it up a little bit just to make it nice? What's your take on that?
Now, after doing like the A-roll or the main primary footage, because you have that interview known as the A-roll, you need to do B-rolls, sometimes known as cutaways. Yeah. So those are extra shots that now will add up to the story this person is talking about. So if the farmer talks about, we have planted like 200 trees, we have this project running in these particular areas in our place, you need to show those visuals. So sometimes you may need to get enough cutaways. That's what we usually advise, so that when that person is speaking, you can add them along. And these cutaways, it's good that you have as many as possible, because that's why you usually begin with an interview, so that after that you will have in your mind, what kind of cutaways do I pick? If the person talked about, we have planted like a whole forest of this particular species of trees, in your mind, you know, I will need a drone shot so that I can show the aerial view of this particular forest. But if they're talking about like a seed bed, you just need a camera
I'll still
that
bring
pans.
a drone.
No, now how do you bring a drone?
I'll still bring the drone on the.
On
Just
the
kidding.
seed bed. That's interesting. And of course, there's also this issue of guys being lazy. Being lazy, I mean, you just ignorantly decide not to use a tripod stand, if I may use that. So you use a free hand. Close-up shots will usually have like a bumpy kind of a movement.
Exactly.
They are very, very sensitive. If you're trying to show like a motion, maybe of a pan of like a shamba, you need to have that position on a tripod and get a good pan. But if somebody is moving, you may consider using a gimbal, because it gives you a very stable kind of a shot.
Yes.
So it's good that you do good work. Don't just shoot for the sake of shooting. Make sure that the shots are stable. And also talking about the issue of lighting as well, because we talked about carrying lights when you go to the set. God has given us natural light, which is the sunlight.
Thank you.
Yes, hallelujah. So you can use that if you are doing outdoor, but you also need to look at the position of the sun, because if the subject is being framed and recorded when the sun is overhead, they'll have shadows on their eyes. Yeah,
yes.
I think
yes,
you also experienced the same in photography.
You have shadows down here.
Yes.
And also down here.
How do you overcome it, like in photography?
In photography, it's the same thing.
Okay.
Only that in videography or cinematography, there's motion. For us, is your subject most of the time is they are still, they are not moving. But one of the rules in photography, I don't know if it applies to cinematography and videography, is that the sun should be behind the subject or your client. So if I am shooting I am the client and the photographer is there, the sun should be behind the client. That means the sun is actually shedding light on me. Why? Because naturally when the sun is on your eyes, what's the first thing that you do?
You will squint.
You do like this.
Yeah.
That is very bad for photography. So to avoid all that, make sure the sun is behind your subject, so that the sun will hit the subject on the back and they'll be able to open their eyes well. Compared to,
so that's why that's why you add the extra lights in front of the subject.
Exactly.
To flash on them.
Exactly.
So that now those shadows are out.
That's what we call high-speed sync.
Okay.
You try and overpower the sun so that your subject is well illuminated.
So now in video is the opposite, because now you usually request the client or the subject to face where the sun is illuminating them. And then there is this issue of the background. When you're positioning the subject, the background is very, very important. Like right now where you are, the subject is looking nice on the viewers. So when you're positioning a subject, make sure that the background looks nice. If it's an office, it should not be cluttered. I mean, you see papers behind, yeah, you see
A
a
dustbin.
dustbin, yeah, just things that are
Yes.
making the background look bad. And then the client tells you, can you Photoshop and remove the background and
In video,
replace?
you're photoshopping.
Yeah, Photoshop.
Very true. In photography, we call it noise.
All right.
I know there's the noise for ISO. When your ISO is too high, you generate noise.
Yes.
But for us, also noise is those unnecessary things that are within your shot. For example, you shoot in a certain area where people are constantly passing behind your subject. Now that is noise. So you have to ensure that your background is clean,
Okay.
it's well, it's very nice, so that when you take that shot, there are no unwanted
Like
items.
grainy kind of
Exactly.
things, if that is now the other reference. But now the noise now is those. But I think you guys Photoshop and you clean it
The good
up,
thing
yeah?
is with, and especially right now with AI,
Yeah.
I can change the
background.
background very easily. But why should you go through all that when you can set everything when you're taking the shot? So that once you take the shot,
Yes.
it's just now going to edit your subject to their specification, not trying again to edit your background. Because for me, I say you did not do your homework.
And you know, backgrounds actually have got a role they play because they put the subject in context. If I'm a farmer, I'm talking about maize farming. It suffices that you position me in a background where the vegetation, the plantation, maize plantation
Exactly,
can be
exactly.
seen. If I'm like talking about maybe I am a mechanic, I work in a garage, it's good that you position that particular subject where that activity can be seen so that it communicates in sync with what they are talking about.
Very
Rather
true.
than come back later to think about Photoshop and all that. So it's good that you consider the background. And then again, you need to direct your subjects how they should position themselves. If somebody is like chewing, yeah, you have seen those guys who
Oh yeah,
are
yeah.
they're chewing and all
And then
that.
an interview,
And then in interview,
it
and
doesn't
then-
look very professional.
is it possible to remove on Photoshop? You know you're a pro.
For photography,
Yes.
we can play around. We'll time when your mouth is. Then now we Photoshop that.
Yeah.
But in video,
Yes.
I don't know. I'm not. I stand corrected. I have not experienced in videography, but I think that's next to impossible.
It's difficult.
Yes.
Then there are also subjects that you'll find like they hold themselves tight, and there's something they communicate. Yeah, yeah, like these kinds
Like
of
this
positions.
kind of positions.
Yeah. And photography also find that you don't like those kind of postures. They communicate something.
Exactly.
What do they communicate?
How you sit, how you put your hands, normally say something. So when, for example, you go into a room
Yeah.
and you find someone like this,
Yeah.
by default, this person means this is my space. I don't want anybody around here. They are basically telling you, don't come. But when you find someone seated and looking at you and smiling, they are by default welcoming you to come. So even in photography, when you're positioning your clients, avoid these. Yes, there are sometimes we will use this position, but it's a relaxed position where you just relax your hands, your shoulders go down, and somebody turns and looks at the camera. It's a very professional pose, but don't overuse it. Don't let the client feel too stiff.
Yeah.
That is like sending someone away. I don't know how it is in videography.
Yeah, we also borrow the same from photography, even in videography. So when you're doing this particular documentary, maybe the subject is sitting or they are standing, but most of the time you'll find there are medium shots that are used so that you see the talk head and focus on that particular person, whether they're talking about. So make sure that they are in a relaxed mode. They are not tight. They are not holding themselves in a particular manner. They are not wearing capes that are covering their eyes. And they facially look nice. So that's why even in a TV, they kind of do a bit of makeup. If somebody has got an oily skin, they'll powder it a bit. So just make sure that the subject looks nice so that they don't later look at the image and feel, oh, I was having something on my mouth. Why did you tell me to wipe it out?
Yeah.
So it's good that you're very observant in that. And I think the guy behind the camera and the director, they are the ones who can identify these mistakes and correct them. Maybe somebody's shot is not well positioned. They need to make sure they are well positioned. So that's something that you also consider when you're doing your filming.
Someone once told me that I am your mirror and you are my mirror. I cannot see myself, but you can see here, and I cannot be able to see myself. And as we conclude, what are those 1 or 2 tips that you would want to tell our viewers?
Out of all the things we have talked about, what you go home with is the data. That footage in the card. So if you lose that particular footage, you will not have anything to show.
Zero.
3
days, 4 days of work gone.
Gone like that. So losing data is the worst thing that can happen to either a photographer or a videographer. So every day, as soon as you have come out of the location, make sure you back up that particular footage. Whether you're going to use the hard disk, whether you're going to do it in the cloud, whichever way you do it, make sure you back up that data. Because you may come the next day, maybe accidentally format the card, or maybe you sit on the card, it breaks, you cannot do data recovery, or it, like when you're packing your things on the location, it just falls there, and when you've gone back, you cannot get the card.
You can't get your card.
Make sure the card is safeguarded, and make sure you back up your data. Otherwise, you'll not have anything to show.
Utterly poor, and you'll be sued. And in my other life, my other career, somebody told me, when it comes to backup, it's good to have a grandfather, father, son backup.
All right.
I'll do that again. A grandfather, father, son backup. So grandfather is the first backup. You have a similar backup of the grandfather.
Okay.
So this is the father. Then the son, you have a similar backup. So that in the event anything happens to the grandfather, and grandfather here it's quote unquote, backup, you have the father and the son.
The son.
And you always work on the son. So father and grandfather are raw backup. So that in the event anything happens to the son backup, you still have 2 other backups. So that is what I practice myself. From a shoot, I save, one is on the card, the other one is on the computer that I use, and the other one is on a separate hard drive, raw data. So that in the event you put in the card and it tells you, you need to format this.
It says error, something.
Yesterday you backed up, it was okay. Today you're waking up,
it has an
format
issue.
this, you're like, what changed?
And the data recovery is very expensive.
You are charged by gigabytes.
And it may also not work out well. Maybe you may get it back or never.
Exactly.
Imagine like doing a documentary in chapters.
The one we did for 3 days in chapters.
Yes, then you tell the client, I'm sorry.
There's no footage.
There's no footage.
Corrupt SD card, something happened. They'll ask you didn't do a backup.
You will tell them.
That's the first question.
You tell them the devil visited your office.
I wonder which devil this one is. Thank you guys for listening to us and our boy Musa. Vast in videography, and kudos, bro. I'm a photographer.
That's good, bro.
I'm learning, and we want to give a shout out to the guys of this space. Awesome space, nice mics. Alkebulan Studios.
Yes,
you guys
Alkebulan Studio.
Alkebulan, you guys are doing good.
But this place is cool.
No noise.
No noise.
Na tukifungua mlango, ile kelele ya matatu na magari huko nje. Hey, but if you would like to shoot your podcast here, we'll leave the contacts of Alkebulan Studios so that come visit them, do your thing, and they're very friendly. They even give you coffee. Wow. Kudos, guys. Thank you. And as always, we are not gatekeepers. We do it real and we reveal it the way it is.